Hi guys, and welcome to a new watchlist video. In this video I'm going to talk about the dollar pairs and how I'm going to see the dollar pairs develop this week and what I'm expecting and where I'm going to take my trades. So first of all, let's start with the overview from last week. Last Friday I already said before the NFP that we could break highs, mostly for the dollar pairs they could shoot up and that the dollar would move down. And we see the exact same thing happening on euro dollar here. During the NFP last Friday we saw a huge rally to the upside, taking liquidity, taking out supply zones, and we created a new demand zone. Doing that, currently we are residing against this daily trend line. I am expecting this to break, but for now I'm just watching for longs once price comes down in here and might price shoot up. We already have this bigger supply zone in there, but this is already price already in there, so it's already less liquidity in there. So yeah, be sure to be a little bit careful when you're trying to get some shorts in there. For now, longs look decent to me. Now let's move on to AUD dollar. AUD dollar has a stellar move, a more stellar move than euro dollar. For now we are still in this supply zone, but we broke this first supply zone in there. We created a new demand zone, and once the dollar starts moving up, then the AUD dollar starts moving down and we can check for some longs in there. Besides that, not really interesting. We got some supply zones in there, but for now I'm mainly just watching how all the pairs develop. So let's quickly dive into the DXY, the dollar pair. And what we saw last week is that we were on top of this trend line, and during the NFP we had this huge move to the downside, and currently we created a supply zone. So what I'm waiting for is basically that price will come up a little bit, go in this supply zone, and then make a further move down to reach this demand below there. Now let's move on to GBPUSD real quick. So for GBPUSD, it is coming out of this supply zone. So we had a supply zone in here, and like I already said, like last week, we could touch this daily supply zone, like a lower the mid-range of before this drop, and that basically happened. Currently we touched this demand zone. I wanted to have like a little bit more of a drop inside of this demand zone before taking any longs, but for now we are reacting to it and I'm just waiting how this develops. Like for now it's not super interesting to me. I'm just waiting for it to go further to the downside and for the dollar to shoot up. But keep in mind, this supply is currently in play right now. It's not a super major supply since we are also on top of this daily trend line. So I would be looking for longs from now. But I want the longs to be a little bit more inside of this demand zone. So price to go a little bit lower, take some longs and ride it to the upside from there. Now let's move on to NZDUSD. For NZDUSD, we touched this supply zone perfectly. So like I said, I didn't expect it to happen right away after the NFP, but it did. It is coming out of this supply zone right now, and it broke this daily demand zone or daily trend line. So it created a demand zone, and I'm looking for some longs. If price can reach back here, I think maybe eventually it could reach in this zone. So I'm gonna just watch whatever price is gonna do once we come here. If we see like a change of character happening on the low time frames, I can be entering it to ride it to the upside basically. But for now it looks bullish to me. The price is switching to the upside, and it is making that momentum switch, and I'm just waiting for the dollar to develop a little bit more before we're gonna take some place on the dollar. Now let's go into AUDUSD. So for AUDUSD, we broke this 4-hour trend line. Like I already said last week, we could break it easily, but I'm not expecting like a huge rally for now. We can break this high in here. We can take some liquidity. If we're gonna break this, we're gonna visit the 2340 range, and maybe eventually just go a little bit higher, break this highs. But for now, I think price could be ranging in March. In May, and for now I'm just watching how that all develops. So be sure to not put a lot of aggressive longs or shorts in there, maybe for a little bit day trading, a little bit range trading, but for now I'm watching this demand zone, so I am still bullish on the gold. But like I said, we already had these stellar moves in the past few months, so I'm not expecting like a huge rally straight away. I'm expecting it to range a little bit, maybe even break these lows and just stay in this range, like the 250-ish until the 2400, something like that. And maybe after March, like in June, July, we can see some more upside or downside. But let's see how the price develops and what the chart is going to do, and let's just take some plays from there. And yeah, that was basically it for this week, for today. So be sure to follow this channel, be sure to stay tuned for the next watch list, and be ready for what comes next.